I was on the news, everyone. Yeah, when I was at the Tilt arcade here in town, the Wyoming Link ended up capturing me on the Ride-On interactive go-kart racing game thing. So if you saw it, you already know this. I must admit, I'm a little bit late on this one. I'm kind of a lot late, but I think I have a good reason, actually several good reasons to be late on this one. For one thing, last month, I had been very busy working my tail off on Cheyenne's Retail Minute for the month of June, and then as soon as I did have the June edition released and delivered, I immediately shifted focus over to editing the last video on the channel about the Asher building, which we'll probably talk about briefly here shortly. But to get back on topic, I feel like my tilt video was pretty well made, and I think Tanisha Bukad of Your Wyoming Link, I think she did a fine job on her piece for the news as well. But there's a whole story that, whether for better or for worse, both her coverage and my video completely ignore. A story that is actually kind of vital for understanding what led to the moment you see in her footage where I'm climbing into the blue go-kart and, well, I kind of started frantically searching for something, to be quite frank. On the day of Tilt's grand opening, I showed up about 1 p.m. because they originally planned to start the grand opening festivities at that time, but they changed it to be 3 p.m. instead due to school still being in session in Laramie County that day. So I went back home. I came back, and I arrived with plenty of time to spare, and I'd say maybe I was about 2 or 3 minutes before 3 p.m. Tanisha shows up, and we meet for the first time. At this point, we had both seen each other's work, so we actually already somewhat knew each other, even though we'd never officially met before this point. The first step for Tanisha when she arrived was to interview a Tilt staff member, and while she was doing that, I filmed my initial walk around of Tilt's interior. After that, I started capturing my own experience of going to Tilt, so I played on the mini bowling alley in this case, and Tanisha continued to gather her B-roll and interviews and all that for her news piece that she was going to be putting on the news very soon. I eventually made my way over to the Ride-On interactive racing games and climbed aboard the go-kart race to do it for the first time. I scanned my card, started with a POV style clip, and eventually sat my camera on the red go-kart to capture the motion of the blue go-kart during my first race. In the process of driving around the track, I think it was while I was capturing the motion of the blue cart as seen from the red cart, I later found out that it was at this point when Tanisha had already gathered a clip of me doing the go-kart race before I even knew about it or noticed. Actually, in post while I was editing my video, I actually had discovered that Tanisha later happened to have placed her camera right in the frame of my video clip as well during my first race, a detail which I didn't even really think about or know about or anything while I was recording. So I will say she was successful in capturing some pretty raw video of me actually being me and just doing my thing. I finished my first go of this simulated racing experience and moved my camera to a different position to capture a different angle of playing these games. By this time, Tanisha and I had chatted with each other briefly, and Tanisha climbed into the red cart and I hopped back into the blue cart. I think initially we were going to maybe try to do a multiplayer race, but it just didn't work out that way. But I started my second go of the go-kart race before Tanisha started her first go of the go-kart race. While I was racing and Tanisha was still setting up her race, I suddenly had this gut feeling that Tanisha was not going to expect the cart to move, much the same way which I didn't expect for it to move. So as her race loaded up, I kept an eye watching to my right, and sure enough, Tanisha's face just lights up next to me. Tanisha was caught completely off guard by the go-kart going into motion. It's at this point that we both absolutely burst out laughing hysterically and loudly at the game. I can tell based on Tanisha's reactions while she was driving around her track that even like a lap or two into the game, she still hadn't gotten over the unexpected immersion of this game, which was too funny to me. After my race, I went over and grabbed my camera. I captured a little bit of Tanisha's racing, and of course this is the point where she said something along the lines and somewhat jokingly of, Then I decided to hop back into the blue go-kart to see about maybe doing one more race, so a third time. But this is where yet another story actually comes into play that I didn't even discuss in my final Tilt video. In the first part of my visit to Tilt, I kept misplacing my player card, and that I kept putting it into a different pocket that I didn't do it the last time and that I didn't intend to use. The timing of this is freaking amusing to me, by the way. While Tanisha is recording her clip, you see me as I climb back into the blue go-kart for the third time. I'm still grinning ear to ear at everything I had just witnessed up to this point, and also my first experience of reacting to the go-kart's motion. But if you paid attention in watching Tanisha's clip, you'll notice that my reaction changes, and it's because I'm slowly realizing that I completely misplaced my card yet again, and you see me start to frantically search for it on my body. Luckily, Tanisha captured her clip before I got back off the cart to see if maybe I dropped my card somewhere on the floor. I think I later discovered that I actually put it into my running vest pocket this time though, so of all the places. But after this point, I wanted to move on to the next part of my video, so I think I recorded a couple clips where I kind of just talked to the camera, and then I went over to the off-road race while Tanisha finished her go-kart race. I don't think we had a proper see you later, unfortunately, but that was okay, because a few days later, we wound up actually bumping into each other again at the Asher building, because they were getting their award for their historic preservation efforts. And quite frankly, after bumping into each other twice now, I won't be surprised if we bump into each other again at some point at some other place in the future. But I guess the moral of the story is just keep your player card in the same place instead of moving it to different pockets every time you play a game. I think part of the reason I kept putting my card in the wrong pocket was simply due to the last time that I had my own player card at an arcade was actually before COVID. So it had been a long time, more than 6 years, since I last had an experience like anything like this. So I think the muscle memory disappeared. That's my theory anyway. I will say going to Tilt was the most fun I've had in a very, very long time. There was another arcade I had gone to a few months prior here in Cheyenne where I actually played games with a friend, and while it was fun to go there, certain circumstances in that visit unfortunately degraded my experience. Things that are far beyond today's conversation, topic for another day maybe, but before that, the last time I'd gone to an arcade and actually played the games, I do believe, was back in 2019. I think my experience of getting to hang out with some other people I'd never met before greatly enhanced not just my video, but also my personal experience of going to Tilt in this particular instance. I will say I can and have returned since I did my video, and even as a young adult, I am still able to have fun at this place. This place has unique experiences which you can't find elsewhere in Cheyenne, and that, for the most part, I think are enjoyable for people of most ages, from kid all the way to adult. Something that might be a little bit different is if you're Shaquille O'Neal or Bo Brown. That might actually be a different story if you are that tall. I can't even come close to imagining how that would be. But in seriousness, most people aren't that big. I do believe that the average person, young or old, could find something to do here at Tilt that will be fun to do. And honestly, there probably are still some things that if you do happen to be as tall as someone like Shaquille O'Neal or Bo Brown, I think there are still some things you could do at Tilt that would at least be somewhat enjoyable, if not fun. I do hope that Tilt changes it up slightly once in a while. Most of these games I think are pretty easy to play over and over again, but it would be nice to occasionally see a different device that wasn't here before pop up. The one or maybe two things that might be on my wish list to hopefully one day see here are the interactive motorcycle race that I've seen at other Tilt locations from others' videos, and maybe even the interactive horse racing game that I also noticed was at a location or two of Tilt's. But that being said, I don't think they need to do any drastic changes. Just the occasional switcheroo or whatever to occasionally freshen up the experience of visiting, I think would be more than enough to just kind of give something new to the people who are regulars. In either case, I'm definitely going to be going back, and I do encourage those in my circles to at least give this place a visit and have some fun. Obviously, if you're watching, I think in this case, I do consider that part of the circle that I'm talking about. As usual, I do want to give a shout out to my channel members over on the Patreon that support this journey, make it easier to do videos around retail topics. And until next time, peace out, everyone. Actually, I'm surprised I can even fit in here kind of comfortably, too.